Welcome, and thanks for tuning in. I'm Lynn Berger, host of Lynn Berger Interviews Remarkable People. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jacqui Hubbard, Artistic Director of the Ivoryton Playhouse for the past 30 years. And we're going to talk about how she got to where she is today. And I'm looking very forward to speaking with her. Welcome, Jacqui.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Lynn.
It's so great to be with you. So take me back to your earlier years. Did you know what you wanted to do?
So I grew up in the northeast of England, which is a very poor part of England. It's not, where Americans visit London and the pretty sights. It's a very industrial part of the world at a time with pretty high unemployment, and I was the oldest of 5 children. So my job a lot as a child was telling stories and entertaining my brothers and sisters. And I did get it from my mom, because my mom was a great storyteller. And I never really thought of doing anything else. I don't think I considered other careers as a job, but inside, I always knew I was a storyteller. And when I was in my teenage years, I got a job on the local radio station, BBC Radio Teesside, and it was a Saturday morning. There was 2 of us, 2 13-year-olds, and whenever groups or singers or famous people came to the area, we'd try and get in and interview them, and I loved it. For anybody out there watching who is English, I had the opportunity at 13 to interview comedians by the name of Morecambe and Wise, and they were like the pinnacle of British TV when I was a kid, which was a real thrill. And so part of me always thought, this is what I want to do. I want to do radio journalism. And so when I started looking at universities and colleges, that's what I went to study. But I got to university and peaked in the theater department and never left. I knew I was home, and always have done wherever I've lived. I mean, in my life, I have a teaching certificate when I lived in New York, and my kids were little. I taught in New York, and when I moved up to Connecticut, I thought that's what I would do. And there was a theater with nobody doing anything, and I just like a moth to a flame, and I've been there ever since. So yeah, I think sometimes people, and not everybody, because I've talked to my daughters about this a lot, maybe you know things about yourself that you're always going to be drawn to, or always going to follow that, but some of us have it in spades, and you think, there was never any other option for me.
That is quite a story, because I meet a lot of people that have twists and turns until they get to that space.
Right.
And that realization of what's right for them.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I did try other things, and I enjoyed teaching. And for about 8 years, I ran a children's theater company, which I loved to do.
Where was that?
Here in the Playhouse, yeah. I do love teaching, so you can love a variety of things. Of course. But I always was drawn back to, how do we put it on? How do we make people smile? How do we make people's lives feel a little lighter? And I think if you have that in you, you tend to do it wherever you are and whatever you are doing. I went to school in a convent school.
Yes, I want to hear about that.
And I have to say, I know I've talked to a lot of Americans who told me about these tough, strict nuns they have, and a couple of ours were strict. But on the whole, they were very kind. And the main thing I got from them, because it was an all-girls school, you don't need boys to do anything. Girls can do whatever they want. So I was able to come out of school in the 70s never thinking there was anything I couldn't do, which I'm very grateful for. But they insisted on community service. You had to give back to the community, and a few of us would go on Saturdays to the local hospital, and I'm sure we were dreadful, and I'm sure the poor patients, what we put them, but we sat, we played guitars, and we sang, and we wandered around, and we talked to them, and we listened to their stories, because the other thing about being a storyteller is you have to be a good listener. And so what I learned from that, is I love listening to people's stories, but I also knew at times when we were doing something and you'd see them smile or just be happy to see us, it was like, oh yeah, that's the feeling I want in my life, is that, knowing that somebody feels a little better for my having been here. We made a big decision and doubled down on it after COVID, when everybody was feeling so bad, that there are a lot of plays out there that are dark, that are challenging, that are important, but I think I know after all these years my audience, and I know everybody's life is hard, everybody has their struggles, and when you come for a night out, you can be taken on a journey that takes you to places that you know, that are maybe hard to deal with, but at the end of the evening, I really want you to leave feeling better than when you came in. And if we haven't done that, then we haven't done our job, you know? So that's become very much our mission. And I know a lot of theaters that reinvented themselves during COVID have gone very challenging, and maybe in different places that's important. But I know that in our little corner of the world, we still have this job to do, which is, let's lift people's spirits.
So take us back to how you got to where you are today through the Ivoryton Playhouse, and how you found yourself in Connecticut.
Sure. So I came over here in 1980. I was actually dating a guy who became my husband, and he was a bridge builder. And he got hired to work as an engineer on the 7 Mile Bridge in the Florida Keys. And I had never left my little part of the north of England, so I thought, yes, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out for a visit. And I came out to Florida for the summer and thought, oh, I have died and gone to heaven. I was 22 years old. I could spend a year or two here. So that was the plan. I was going to come out here, spend a year or two. Margaret Thatcher got elected. God rest her soul. But I thought she won't be here long, and then I can go back. And of course, she was there for an eternity. And you know, you wake up one day and you realize, I have been here over half my life. And how did that happen? But anyway, that's what did happen. Ian and I got married. He was a bridge builder, which is a little bit like being an army wife. It takes 3 years to build a bridge. So you travel to different parts of the country, and that's what we did. So wherever I went, I found a theater company, and I worked as an actor. I performed with the Tampa Playmakers, Savannah, Georgia. I was with Savannah Theater Company, and another theater company there, I can't remember the name. And anyway, I traveled around, and we eventually had 2 children. And when we got to New York, I thought, you know, I should find something else to do, because the children are little, I can't be bopping off, you know, working in theater. So I got my teaching certificate and worked as a teacher and enjoyed it very much. And then we moved in 1990 to Connecticut. And I had, you know, made the decision that I would look for a teaching job. I had been here less than 2 months when I was driving through Ivoryton and saw the Playhouse. I thought, I wonder what goes on there. So I made a call, and nothing went on there except in the summer, when a company out of New York rented it for 3 months. And without even thinking, I said, could I have it for the rest of the year? Could I do something?
You are fantastic.
And the board, who were all volunteers at that time, were just, sure. And so I spent the next 8 years. I started with a children's theater company, and then I added adults, and we built a whole, we called ourselves, well, the children's theater was the Mad Hatters, because I'm obsessed with Alice in Wonderland. And then when we added adults, we called it the Alice People Theater Company. And we did that up through, almost up to 2000. But in the meantime, there had been more and more interest in the theater, and we'd gradually been building a season around the existing summer season. And I think the board realized that they had to hire somebody to manage it. It couldn't just be done with volunteers, so which is why in 98, 99, they hired me to run the place.
Did you ask, or did they offer?
So they put out a search committee, and they actually were looking at hiring somebody who had a strong background in development, because the theater had no money, and I have no background in development. But there were also members of the board who understood that you can't raise money for something that doesn't have a strong base of support and a program to fund. So the reason they hired me was to build a program. And so I set about the next few years, first of all, building a wraparound season around the summer, and then when the summer company left, we just went all in with attempting to build a year-round season, which we were laughed at first, because Ivoryton Playhouse is a summer theater. I mean, it has never been a winter theater, and everybody said there is no winter audience because they're all snowbirds. Everybody leaves, and there's just a little few people left here. But you know, we have a very strong crowd all year long. We have subscribers who come from April through December. And I'm happy to say we proved them wrong.
Okay, good.
That there is enough audience here for a year-round program, and it's been a labor of love building it.
What are you most proud of?
There's a couple of things. Number one, when I first came to the Playhouse, nobody in the immediate surrounding area of Ivoryton, the local businesses, nobody went. They thought of it as a New Yorkers theater. You know, people come in, tourists, New Yorkers, they go there. It's not for us. It's not for the local people. So we started out making a huge effort to bring in local people. For our dress rehearsals, we invite all the local businesses to come for free, so they see the show, so they can talk about it to people who come. So we are invested in our community, and the community has now become invested in us, which I think is really important for any organization.
Of course.
So that is something that I think we're very proud of. We have a great reputation now among actors who come in from the city and work with us. I was always afraid. I'd always apologize. This is a very English thing. When I take my mother out to eat, when she comes her turn to order, she says, "I'm sorry, but could I have? Could I bother you to have?" Like, don't apologize. That's your job. But I would find myself doing that a lot. I'm sorry our theater's so small. I'm sorry you know, until eventually, you know, enough people said to me, "It's a beautiful theater, and we love coming here, and your housing is lovely, and your people are kind." And like, okay. All right.
You own it now.
Yes, we own it now, and we are happy to welcome people, and to welcome people back again year after year who love to come.
Nice.
And we also have managed to, as well as doing shows that people love, the jukebox musicals and all the people pleasers, we've managed to do some challenging stuff. I think that has given us a little bit of cred in the theater world. But I think what I'm most proud of is our audience, subscribers, members who have built a kind of family.
Oh, nice.
You know, and it is, we open next week, we open next Friday.
Yes.
I love to stand outside when people come in, they say, "Oh, we're so happy to be back," and they feel like it's spring because the season is starting. And I try and make sure I'm at almost every performance, certainly for the first one, just so I can welcome everybody back, you know, and that they feel recognized, they feel seen, and they feel listened to. I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, "I was thinking of you because I saw a play when it was up in New Hampshire." and it's great. And sometimes I've discovered works that way from audience members who've seen things and said, "This would be great in Ivoryton." You know, I can't imagine having a job that you didn't want to go to every day.
You know, as a career counselor for over 30 years.
Yes. I do.
I have to, you know, we got to put that in a little box.
You do,
because that's something to be grateful for.
It is huge, yeah.
Yet
it
you
is huge.
created it for
Yeah.
yourself.
And it's also, but I have to say, you have to be a certain type of person doing it because I don't have a lot of downtime.
Okay.
I probably work 7 days a week. And I'm on call any hour of the day or night, so it's a good job. I enjoy it. There are times when I think, do you have to call me at 9 o'clock at night because, the heating's not working or something? But that goes along with the territory. I think when you run something, you are the last resort for people to call. So I also know people who say to me, I couldn't do your job because I like my weekends to myself, and I understand that.
That works for, yes, but this works for you
But this
until
works for
it
me.
won't work for you. But it seems to be working right now.
Yeah.
Now, I know you've had challenges over the years, and when COVID struck and you had to deal with that, what was it that supported you, that got you through it?
Well, the main thing is the community, because they did step up. We were lost. At first we were lost, and I would say the first month or two, I had blinkers on, and I kept planning. So we had 8 shows planned for that season.
Oh, goodness.
And so we couldn't do the first one, so I'm focused, okay, we'll probably be able to do the next one. That fell. Okay, and then when it seemed apparent that none of this was going to happen, then I think there was a slight spiraling of, who am I and without this? When I get up in the morning, what do I do? I don't have anything that defines me anymore. And so most people, were home, but a few of us decided we'd go in 2 or 3 days a week just to meet, sit separately, have coffee. We'd do silly crafts, like paint rocks.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Something just to do, until we decided, okay, if we're gonna manage to get through this, it's gonna take an army. So we started writing to our subscribers and members. First of all, we asked them, the whole playhouse itself was overgrown because there'd been nobody tending to the yard. We had a whole
all these things
army.
you don't think
Yes,
about. Oh,
we had a whole army of older people. It was always the older people who'd come, showed up with their leaf blowers and their spades and their secateurs, and they came and we cleared out, and the place looked good, and that made us feel better, that if we could get these people who cared about us enough to come and help us make the place look nice. So then we made this little T-shirt of an elephant in a boat, and we said, help us ride the way, ride through the storm. And they did. We got donations. We were sending T-shirts out. And the flood of support we got from people was just terrific.
That's
so
incredible.
That we were able to get back the next year with some little shows, socially distanced, and it was weird. And I have to say, 2021 was a very strange year, but we were able to do something, and it gave us like a little, life ring to hold on to think that there'd be an end in sight. But whatever, we had the support, and they weren't going anywhere. And it's been good in a way. We have learned, number one, pre-COVID, we were doing too much. We were doing 8 shows a year. Staff was burning out. We were frazzled. So we sat down afterwards and said, what is going to work that will all manage to do this without, having a nervous breakdown at the end of it. So we've cut down to 6 shows.
Okay, that's very reasonable.
Yes, and we do longer runs. We were doing 3 and 4 weeks. We now do 4 and 5 weeks for the bigger shows. And it means that now when a show opens, we can relax a little bit through the run. We don't have to, the day it opens, start building the next one, because that's how it was. It was pretty much nonstop. So the staff is happier. And I think there's a calmness more about the place now, which is healthier for everybody. But we've got through it, and we're looking forward to 2024.
Yes, that is my
year.
next topic.
Yes,
yes. I want to hear what's next for the Playhouse,
Sure.
what's next for you. Where do you
Okay.
see yourself over the next short period of time?
Yeah, well, the next for the Playhouse is we open the
Yes.
music of the Everly Brothers next Friday. So during COVID, I hired a young couple, Ben Hope and Katie Barton, who had been with us in several shows. And they came on board as producer and in the development field because they have small children, and they too, at their age, wanted to stop touring. And
Settle down.
it tends to be a thing with theater people. Anyway, Ben and his friend Eric had written this show during COVID about the Everly Brothers. And Ben and Eric are like brothers. They've worked together for years. And I actually sat in on it yesterday, and it's just lovely. The harmonies are gorgeous. Their guitar playing is, I mean, it's a lovely way to open the season. It's gentle. It's an interesting story. The Everly Brothers have an interesting, falling out and coming back together. But that music transcends generations, My mom loves it. My kids love it. So I'm looking forward to that. And we have a lot of big shows, I think, this year that will appeal to people. Coming up, we have a 1940s all-girl band in a USO show in London. We have Mystic Pizza, the musical.
Oh, that's fun.
Which is
Yeah, that's
80s
fun.
rock and roll.
That's fun.
And we are the Connecticut premiere of that. And then Jimmy Buffett, Escape to Margaritaville, which is perfect summer fare. And then the thing that I'm looking forward to in the fall is we're doing a play called Alabama Story, and I get to go on stage for the first time in about 8 years, I think. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yes, I think people need to know you act also.
Oh yeah, that's how I started in this business, but now they usually keep me backstage. But
Right.
Yes, I get to play Emily Wheelock. It's a true story. A librarian in Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, in 1960, who was faced with a group of people who wanted her to remove a book from the shelves about a little white bunny and a little black bunny. It's called The Rabbit's Wedding, who wanted to get married. And it's a children's book, and it's a lovely children's book. And my children had the book when they were little, so I know the book. And she won. She stood firm and she won. And I just think with a lot of what's going on in the country now, this is a historical piece, but I think it is worth revisiting. So I'm looking forward to becoming Emily Wheelock for a little
much
while.
fun.
That'll be fun.
You deserve that. Yeah.
And then I'm writing the Christmas show. So it's a busy fall and winter for me, which is called God Bless Us Everyone. And I've written about 3 or 4 of our Christmas shows, and this one takes place at the theater during a storm on Christmas Eve. Every year I say I'm not going to be as busy this year because I have grandchildren now, and you think I'm going to spend time, but I'm probably always going to be that grandma who's I'm the one who'll take them places and do crazy things with them because that's what I do.
That's a great.
In fact, I was very lucky last year. One of my granddaughters, Emma, who was 7 and is the only one that's shown any interest in theater, got to play Gretel when I did Sound of Music.
Oh, I saw
So
that.
I got to direct her, and
oh, that's fun.
that was really fun. Yeah.
That is fun.
Yeah.
That is fun. So you've done so well. You've gotten to such a nice place in your career. Do you have any advice for younger people that might want to follow a little bit of what you did?
I would always say try as many things as you can, but when you're in a space that makes you feel good and you know that they welcome you there, then that's a sign that that's a place you should be. Sometimes it may not be the job. Like, I never thought I'd be running a theater. I had no credentials for that. I had no administrative experience, nothing. I couldn't even, QuickBooks, managing finances. I couldn't balance a checkbook, but I was in the right place. And when you're in the right place, you can learn anything. And you can find a team, or you can work out your space in there. Because I worked in theaters that were not good places for me to be as an actor. So though I knew I wanted to act, that was not a place for me. And I think that for a lot of people, finding that space, and it might take a lot, you might try a lot of twists and turns, but when you find a home, a business home, or a place where you feel accepted, listened to, but also that you can learn, you know. And we are always looking for people. I'm going to put this out here right now. Technical theater, if you at all interest in technical theater, if you do a degree in that, or if you have an interest or experience in it, theaters are grabbing you. There's not enough of you out there. Sound people, audio engineers, technical directors, carpenters.
That is great advice for people that might be listening that, you know, are thinking about they love the theater, but they can't find their place.
Yeah.
And one thing I have to point out about you when you tell your story, you were flexible also. Like you didn't know administrative.
No,
you
I
didn't.
knew nothing.
But you kind of went with it
Yes.
and found your place and allowed that to happen, which is, you know, a testament to you
Well, you
and
can't
who
let
you are.
failures knock you down. And there were a lot of failures, but you got to get back up again and say, okay, I'll try again differently. Or I need to have somebody else do that thing because I am not able to.
Oh, that is on that note, I mean, you got to ask for help when you need the help and know what you can do.
Exactly.
Well, this has been remarkable. You certainly are a remarkable woman. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
And I'd like to, do you have any contact information you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I'll just send you straight to the website, which is ivorytonplayhouse.org, because all of our information about shows, about auditions, about volunteering.
Oh, that's a big one.
Any of that stuff is on there. You can buy tickets straight from there, and there's also telephone numbers of people that you can contact. So we'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for listening today. This has been better than I imagined. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.